Good evening, this is Dr. Bones Live, and today my guest is Will from the metal band MuckRaker out of Atlanta, Georgia. Will, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Not a problem at all, man. So, first off, just before we hit up a few things from your bio, MuckRaker, it's a bit of a unique name. Where did you guys come up with it? Was it like a kind of something you thought of, or did it kind of come in a process?
MuckRaker is actually a term used in the early 19th century for basically journalists who would dig up, unflattering things about politicians and businessmen, and it's the old term raking up muck is where that came from. So lots of my songwriting focuses on political themes, historical themes, current and past events. So I thought MuckRaker, and there are some other versions, other bands around, like the MuckRakers, which, but I thought we were different in that aspect, in the aspect of music. And I really wanted to use that moniker.
Well, you know what? I never would have put the two together. It just seemed to stick out unique, and I never would have thought. I mean, obviously, the raker part of it kind of speaks for itself, but I never would have thought of that term as MuckRaker as how you put it, an old term used for journalists who dug up dirt on politicians, that sort of thing. And as far as your political writing goes, I can definitely vouch for you for that, because the Iron Heel reminds me, at least the name reminds me of Russia's initial Iron Grip. And correct me.
Yeah, well, that song was actually, and it was before I just recently read the novel called The Iron Heel, but it was based on some information I heard about the novel called The Iron Heel by Jack London, and it was written in 1900, or at least published in 1908, essentially about the oligarchy taking over the world and the fight against that. And so I just recently actually read the book. I actually just finished it a few days ago. But I had written the song, a year and a half ago. But just based on Wikipedia and some basic ideas behind that novel. But yeah, The Iron Heel is about the takeover of, it says in there, the banksters. So.
Right on. I just, it's always appealing to me as how the songs are written. So I'm going to take a guess and say, Will, that you write most of the songs and then bring it to the band and the guys work over it from there?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I've been doing this a long time. I used to be in a band called Boiler, and we were signed to Mayhem Records, which used to be a subsidiary of Atlantic Records. And we toured around the country quite extensively during the latter part of the 1990s. And then basically Atlantic dropped Mayhem Records, and they lost their funding and they folded. And we, Boiler trudged on for a few years, and I decided I wanted to get a change of pace and move down from, Boiler was in Ithaca, New York, and me and my wife decided to just relocate, and we came down to Atlanta, and I had pretty much not wanted to do music for a while, but my wife encouraged me to get back into it, and got together a band, and after a few member changes, we have the current lineup of Ray Mulligan on guitars and additional vocals, and Capo on drums, and we got some songs we really like, and we're just trying to have some fun, making some what we think is some pretty
Well, you know what? I'm glad you guys started following me on Twitter because, I mean, the show, I try to be diverse as possible, and I do like my metal, mainly a lot of the older stuff, because I personally, some of the newer stuff I'm not a big fan of, but, you know, I grew up, besides in the grunge era, but I grew up with, like, Pantera and Metallica and White Zombie and all those guys, so it's nice to have a metal band on the show for pretty much the first time. So you guys are the first metal band we had on the show, which is awesome. And I had a question.
Oh, really?
Yeah, actually. So this is nice. So I had a question because you talked about, you said how you guys were touring with Boiler the large part of the night, because I read in your bio pretty much around 94 for about 6-7 years. Now, when you and your wife relocated to Atlanta, and you said you didn't want to play music for a little bit, a few years after you're done with Boiler, was it because the company had folded and kind of put a sour taste in your mouth, or like why the kind of turn of events to say, you know what, I'm not sure I quite want to do this?
It was the just being in the industry, and actually dealing with record people, dealing with, you know, we had promotional people. You know, for instance, when we were on. When Boiler was on Mayhem, we had some people who were literally supposed to be kind of, you know, promoting whoever was, you know, but they had their favorite bands with who were on the label. Like, for a while, Cradle of Filth was on the label. Who I can't personally stand that kind of music, but they have an appeal, and some people like them. And that's great. But I literally was hearing stuff like, you know, this promotional person isn't going to do basically anything for Boiler because they didn't like us, but they liked Cradle of Filth more, so they were going to put their more effort into that band. You know, just stuff like that. And there's 1,000 examples that can be given to this insider industry type of deal. But basically, after the Mayhem had folded, we spent a few years looking for another label, and you know, because we didn't, you know, you could say it was because we weren't good enough or whatever, but you know, I just don't think that we had the connections anymore to find another label who, you know, would be interested in us. Because that's how we got the label in the beginning. We had a person that we knew, and they helped get us signed. They helped get Boiler signed, and so after a while, I became quite disgruntled with the entire industry. And while Boiler was one of the greatest things in my life, I wanted to leave it on a high note. I was and still am best friends with my fellow band members in Boiler, and
You good? Stand by for 1 second there, guys. I got you back, Will. It's 2 seconds here. For some reason. Alright, just stand by for 1 moment, Will. And we're going to get to Iron Heel, so let's dig out Iron Heel by MuckRaker.
the walls go on and on, and that the jobs are gone, gone. Down went his 2 cents, along with Jones. This is class warfare, we'll burn their bones. Seems like the rival is taking the streets, bitching that there is nothing to eat, and that the walls go on and on, and that the jobs are gone, gone. Send in the iron hail. The final word come from D-Sex by standing on the people's backs. We are the new kings, oligarchy. 'Tis time we crush democracy. Seems like the rebel and taking the streets, bitching that there is nothing to eat, and that the walls go on and on, and that the jobs are gone, gone, gone. Send in the iron hail.
Right on. That was the Iron Heel by MuckRaker, and we're back with Will. So we'll just jump back here for a second, Will. You're just talking about pretty much how you kind of moved in, had a bit distaste because of the whole scene, and it's completely understandable because it's the quote unquote paper pushers or pen pushers that, you know, they don't have necessarily the band's best interest in mind. They're kind of like, no, this is going to sell, this, and then they, in their minds, this is going to sell and this is not, and a lot of times it doesn't make it fair to the bands who actually really deserve it and have the talent to go out and pretty much make themselves known.
Yeah,